we always need to check in, do regular check-in, or we may call it self-reflection. I do that as much as possible every night, a quick one, just what did I do today? Right? Good. Improvement or correction. Right? So when we do this quick check-in, then very quickly we can adjust our ways rather than years later it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
If possible, every night, if not at least weekly. So then we know, what to do as we move forward.
Welcome to Moments That Inspire, your go-to podcast for leadership insights and inspirations for the contemporary world. And I'm your host, Dolon Mitra. In today's ever-evolving world, success is driven by orchestrating an intricate balance between competence, self-awareness, and value alignment. Throughout this podcast series, we'll delve into diverse perspectives and offer valuable insights in these three areas. Additionally, we will explore moments of inspiration shared by our speakers. So let's embark on this transformative leadership journey anchored in elevated competence and genuine humility. Welcome to today's episode, which focuses on the professional paradox, which is the challenge of balancing success and fulfillment in our career. In a world that celebrates achievements and ambition, many professionals find themselves excelling while still feeling unfulfilled. So, how do we define success to include both professional excellence and deep personal satisfaction? And to help us navigate through this, let me welcome Nancy Ho, a life strategist, transformative coach, and an expert in guiding professionals to craft meaningful and purpose driven careers. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Hello there, and thank you for inviting me. It's my honor indeed.
Thank you so much. So, Nancy, as we begin, can you share with our listeners the defining moments in your career that led you to dedicate your life and work in helping leaders balance success and fulfillment?
I have always said that I have been very blessed in a lot of ways. And success came at a much earlier age. By about mid-20s, like 25, 26, I already achieved a lot in a sense of wealth, in a sense of status, in a sense of the work that I want to do. However, what was my defining moment was when I have a health scare. And it's not funny, as young as 26, 7 years old, and then, which I actually went to a denier. So that's why I went a lot into the mind and body connection. So because of that, then call it a wake-up call, which was good again. Like I said, it started early for me. And I then took a sit back and said, oh, sure, success is very important in terms of, the physical aspects of it, especially like we want to stretch our potential to the maximum, obviously, right? We wouldn't want to be complacent and, time pass. But is that it? So when I discovered that, then I actually said, okay, I still want, stretch my potential and fulfill my heart's desire, but not at the expense of, okay, in my case, it's health. In fact, if I look deeper, it was also relationship. Yes. So I went about with the work and I shifted my perspective and I said, we can have both. In fact, when I did that so-called balance, I became even more successful in terms of the material aspects, but not chasing after it. So I was glad that I took a sit back and I then become my life work.
Thank
Yes.
you. I mean, that was beautiful, Nancy. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, actually, before this podcast, I was doing a little bit of reading and I realized that Deloitte had come up with a survey which says that 77% of professionals experience burnout due to this imbalance. And I'll not be surprised if in the last few years the number has gone even higher, the way the world is going. So, one is, how do you define success and fulfillment side by side? And is it possible to achieve both? Or rather, how is it possible to achieve both and ensure that both coexists in our life?
And the first thing one has to look into is oneself, right? What I call the introspection.
Mm.
So the introspection obviously involves values. What are our values? In fact, I want to be more specific. What are our core values? What is really important to us? All right. While sure, we want that, comfort, even luxury, perfectly fine. All right. Nothing wrong with that. But we have to first look into our values,
Mm.
the introspection. So, there will always be an opinion of some sort from
Mm.
us.
Mm.
If we look outside or we are bothered about what people think of us, which there'll be some degree of that because, I mean, if you look at the positive side of it, when we are concerned what people think of us, it only means what? We want to be good. We want to have the standard, right? Let's call that a feedback.
Mm.
But if that we are concerned about what people think of us becomes from the space of ego, like, I want everybody to accept me. I want to be liked by everyone.
Mm.
Or even the fear of not of something being said negatively, which again, like I said, there will always be opinion. And as you go higher, it may not sound very positive, but there's a chance there are always haters. For no rare reason, some people even I have people that don't not even know me personally. All right. And they have opinion or not liking me, not liking my work. Well, so like I said, if we're going to focus on that, what people think of us based on our ego, then
Mm.
definitely there's no fulfillment. Then what are we chasing? Then we get very disturbed, we get disorientated. But
Mm.
if that, whatever the opinion might be, and I reflect, and whatever that I've been doing is still centered around my core values,
Mm.
then I'm not shaken,
Mm.
I'm not affected, and I
Mm.
just accept it is what it is.
Right.
By saying that, we still sometimes make mistakes. So when we do reflection, that's why I said introspection, right?
Mm.
Oh, this is my bad.
Mm.
Correction, all right? But
Mm.
if one believe that whatever I've been doing, that it is based on my core values and the intention, which is more important, is positive. So it really doesn't matter what people think.
So one thing that you said, Nancy, really, really resonate that no matter how much we talk about the, not supportive work culture, toxic boss, everything at the end of the day, to a great extent, starts from within also. And I
Correct.
think in my coaching conversations, in my facilitations, there's a lot of discussion around this, personal values and personal purpose, and being able to really link your life to values and purpose. But if you could just run our audience through, number one is, how do you really identify your core values and purpose? And then, do you think everybody will have the luxury to perhaps find work or doing things which would be aligned to their values and purpose? If yes, great. If no, then what do we do?
Okay, that's how I go about with my clients. I actually sit down with them to identify their core values.
Right, right.
Right. It's a process that we need to identify. It's not something that we just pluck, this sounds good. That sounds
Exactly.
good.
Right, right.
So that's what I meant by introspection. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very deep work. So
Right.
yeah, I do very deep with my clients that we identify the core values. Now, after we identify core values, the next thing what I like to use, one of the big C of success is choice. What do you choose? By not choosing, you have chosen, right? So when people say no choice, I say, what? No, by not choosing, you already have choose not to choose. So
Right.
the first big C for success for me is choice, right? And there isn't really like what's the perfect choice, the most appropriate choice, all right, that you select at that given time, right? Whatever you deem as appropriate. So likewise with purpose. So what do you choose to be your purpose?
You make a very, very pertinent point, that at every stage in life, we are given options and we choose to pick up the option at that point in time which makes the most sense to us or appeals to us more. Now, something which has happened to me personally also, and lots of colleagues and clients, later on there is a deep dissonance with the choice that, okay, 5 years back I chose this, but this was so wrong and there is nothing that I can do about it at right this point in time. So, I mean, if I may ask you, I know we may just be digressing a little bit, but what is the best way of letting go of dissonance of the choices that you have made in your life, which seem the best option at that point in time?
Adjustment is the word, right? That
Right.
needs to be, we need to be fluid.
Mm, mm,
All
mm,
right, sure.
mm.
At the time, it looks like the best decision, the best choice. All right, it happened to every one of us. So two
Right.
years down the road, 3 years down the road, right, some changes happened. That is just adjustment. That's why one of the things that I coach is the North Star vision,
Mm,
concept North Star vision. And this North Star vision is for 3 years only
mm.
because our life changes. So this
Right.
North Star vision is not forever.
Mm,
So, and also I focus on the different arms in this North
mhm.
Star. And the center of this North Star is so-called our career or business. Then the other arms is like uh, family and friends, uh, fitness and health,
Mm.
uh, finance and wealth. Then I go into the impact. Then I also go into even faith and spirituality.
Right. Right.
Then, freedom, legacy.
Right.
So they
Right.
are to fill up, what they want as, what do they want out of family and friends, their fitness and health, right? So on and so forth. So there's a clarity. Now, what is most important is when we have filled up what we want, okay, like even our fitness and health, our finance and wealth and all that, then we have to look at whether our business or career can support it.
Now, going back to a very interesting point you made, Nancy, which was, feedback versus ego and the paranoia of being left out. So, in a world of this social media, how does one really detach themselves from this need for validation? Because the need for validation is going up like how across generations. So, how do we really move away from that and focus a lot more on things which we have a control of rather than these things which we may not have a lot of control on?
The need for validation only comes from ego. So I can't tell somebody if they want to come from the space of ego and said, you don't you do not need validation. It will not go down well. All right. So that's why I say even the North Star vision, I talk about faith and spirituality. And even somebody do not have faith, but spirituality is about the energy, is about how we want to show up energetically in this world. All right. But if somebody is coming from a space of ego, this won't go down well. I mean, it's like, they just can't hear. All right. They just can't hear. But then again, I'm my way for them to realize that
Right.
it's their ego. So when they realize, like, oops, it is my ego that I'm needing all this validation. There's this part of recognition, which is different. We want
Right.
recognition that we do certain work, all right, is being known or being visible.
In a normal lifespan, happiness tends to have a U curve. At 30, people are peaking with their happiness, excited, new things in life. Around 50, it really plummets and again starts peaking around 65. So, what is the definition of balance across generations or across life stages? How do you see this need to balance or focusing on one thing or the other being different across various life stages or 30s, 40s, 50s,
Right.
60s? What is the ideal way of looking at it when your needs in life are very, very different?
That's why I talk about the North Star vision for only 3 years. You
Mm.
see, so it's not even a decade. It's really every 3 years. Besides this North Star vision, the other thing, one has to focus on the individual improvement. That can be pretty neglected, sadly, when we come to a stage that we think we kind of know everything, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But is that it? I'm not just talking about keep learning, but I'm talking improvement. I'm sure you heard of Kaizen, it's 1%
Right.
improvement each time, each task. And this can be overlooked, especially we get so caught up with that, stress and the deadline and to
Right.
perform, and then we just go for the angle. We just want that result and not focus enough on the process. So this constant improvement is an attitude, and that builds momentum. Then of
Right.
course, next thing we need to a way to integrate, just like we talk about work-life balance. And I said there's no work-life balance. There's only work-life integration. So integration means you do not forget, you do not overlook any aspects that's important.
But why is this concept so wrongly understood? Work-life balance generally for everybody is like, okay, 5 o'clock, my work is done. I'm getting into my life now. I will not look at work. Or between 9 to 5, I will not look at life. Why is there such a fragmented approach when what you said is so simple to understand and nobody is really watching over us to not let us do that? So why is there such a huge misconception on this?
I guess, unfortunately, um, there are concepts and there are concepts. And people buy into that kind of concepts from whoever started it, and they buy in,
Right. Yeah.
right? They buy in, but no. So whenever someone said, "Oh, I'm so stressed, there's no work-life balance," I said, "There isn't." And they will
Right.
look at me always like, "There isn't." I said, "No,
Yeah.
work-life integration. I work
Right.
7 days. I
Right.
can't even coming on a Sunday."
Right. Right.
And someone said, "Oh my goodness, you work all the time." I said, "No, I don't work all the time. I work
Right.
sometimes and I play sometimes." It's not like even I go to the office on Sunday. It's not like I'm there from 9 a.m. right through to 9 p.m. Lifespan versus health span. So often we hear people talk about lifespan, right? The
Yeah.
longevity. My mom is 93,
Hmm.
long lifespan, right? 93.
Right.
But there's a huge gap with the health span. She's got Alzheimer, and sadly, she can't even recognize me now.
Hmm.
No, I don't want
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like nobody wants that, but we can minimize the
Yeah.
chance of being sick. So
Right.
if all of us, if we want to be very honest and put a time log, how we
Right.
really spend our time, there
Yeah.
are moments, I won't say all the time, there are moments we actually idle the time away or doing things that are not important, not urgent.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, or then they find their time. I find most of the time they just keep firefight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if a person keep firefight, then you haven't got a space or time to work on the important. That's
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so that's really
Yeah.
important. And of course, the next thing also the interpersonal investment. Again, the
Yeah.
important people that you deem important, not just network for the sake of just going to a cocktail reception and what's the purpose?
No, that's a very important point, Nancy, and that's exactly what I wanted to get into. I just attended a couple of networks, and I realized one thing which is spoken again and again is that, especially in the gig or fractional economy that we are working in, or whether you are a full-time professional, networking with the right sets of people
Right.
is super critical. The right set of people, not just networking. So, what is the definition of this right set of people?
The Rex again is very individual for each person,
Right.
right? Back to is it only coming from the ego? Oh, back to the values, back to the purpose, back to the intention. Yeah,
Absolutely. Now, just moving a little on the side of the organization, Nancy, organizations are full of paradoxes. So, for example, this work from home really was designed to help people, right? And there are some people who got a lot of help from this, but there was also aspects that the boundaries were blurring. So, how can organizations really support individuals with balancing their life a little more?
but I guess. For organization, obviously, they wouldn't know the individual lifestyle. So it's really up to the individual to
Mm,
also stand up for their rights.
mm,
So I don't mean stand up for your rights, meaning that, okay, my job is done by this time, right? I don't care. No,
mm,
but one should, highlight what works and what does not work. So I think it's just really discussing it with your bosses. And I believe every organization, what they want is results, not your time. I mean,
mm.
sure, we must give that certain decent number of hours,
Right.
the effort to produce certain results. But it's not, we are not a machine just churning out. They want the results. And again, if a
Yeah.
person is effective, do you need so much time? The high performing professionals is results.
So, to that, I mean, you brought in the point of high performance that made me really think about it is that they may be the ones who are the worst affected. Because again, it proves that about 70% of high performers actually have imposter syndrome, which they are trying to hide inside, deep inside. And there are this high expectations and pressure which comes and which creates this level of anxiety, even trust issues in high performers. So, is there anything specifically that you would recommend, barring all this? Of course, great. But there are some people who are extremely ambitious, extremely, I mean, always have been on the treadmill at 7 or 8.
Mhm.
So, what is something that they should focus at? And second is another thing I hear from this kind of people is that I have to write the political landscape of the organization. I don't like doing this. I
Right.
don't want to be outside with my boss drinking like 3 days in a week, but I have to do it because, that is something which will make me put in the good books of the boss, and that is required for promotion. But if this guy only focuses on his work, also he can get promoted. But that is something which is also playing on his mind. So the point is, I mean, especially for high performers, what are the dichotomies that they should take away from their mind, and what is a better way for them to get this kind of an alignment, perhaps?
Again, choice. All right.
Right.
Again, choices, right? At the end of the day. But
Mm,
of course, by saying that, uh, this another big C is our commitment.
mm,
When we have this commitment to make our life work,
mm.
then we no longer become so um tunnel vision that this is the
Right.
only way.
Right.
All right.
Right.
When you have that
Mm,
commitment. Then that's where the next C comes in called creativity. There got to be more than one road to go to Rome. You can't be just one single road and that's the only road to go to Rome. Not possible. So if a person is more creative to to dream up of that, got to be one more than one ways for
mm.
sure. All right, to get to where I want to go. Like I said again, professional success is important. I've never said that. That's
Yeah.
not, you know. Then having that creativity would then for us to bring up more ways rather than the only way. So like you said about imposter syndrome, why do even they feel that way? They have the
Mm.
education, they have the experience, they have the track record and all of that.
Yeah.
So again, is it their ego playing out?
Mm.
Where does that fear comes from? Right? We have to go into,
Nancy, you just mentioned two C's. I'm very, very curious to know, are there any other C's beyond
yeah, there are
choice
six
and
C's.
creativity?
There are six C's. Choice, commitment, activity, curiosity. Next one, interesting. Compassion. Yeah, and then communication. These are six C's that I focus
Right.
on it. So that's why when you said just now, right, all this imposter syndrome, or they have to write the political, landscape and all that. That's very much from what I always call it being too human, very hardwired human thinking, right?
Mm.
But
Mm.
compassion, that's where the spirituality comes in.
Mm.
And compassion first have to start from with self. So compassion is a combination of energy of understanding, empathy, love, generosity. So compassion is not like, sympathy, that kind of thing. No, it's combination of this energy that I just mentioned. So when you have that, then you're able to extend it to others.
Got
And
it.
when you
Yeah.
extend to others with this understanding, then you can see it no longer like I'm against them or they're against me or we against them, that kind of a mentality. So-called, I'm in pain. They are also in pain, right? The big
Mm.
boss also have to answer to somebody, right? Whether board directors or whether P&L or whatever, they're also in pain. So
Yeah,
instead of like looking at it as, oh mine, they just pressure me and that's it, they don't care. Question, they don't care, but they have to answer to somebody. Then how do we make this work? So if
right.
you're coming from the understanding and love and empathy and generosity, the generosity I don't mean in terms of giving money, but even time, that's all having I always call generosity, might come from, it's always a big heart, having that big heart. It's hard to have anything negative
Mm.
for a simple fact. We can't hold on to a positive energy and a negative energy at the same time. Not possible. Either
Right.
it's positive or it's negative. So if we have this, whenever we cultivate all this positive energy, not that there will never be any negative, but then when a negative comes, it's no big deal, right? But if we harbor mostly this negative energy, then even something positive that happens, we can't rejoice. We're not even happy with it. I know it's like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Right.
So it's cultivation, a big part of cultivation.
So the point is, how do we really look at those small wins, ensure that our brains get hardwired to look at positives, to be more passionate, to have a bigger heart. So in a hustle of the day, how can individual really find these moments of fulfillment in the small day-to-day activities?
I think first thing first, we need to practice gratitude. Too many people have taken their life for granted, especially let's say in the context of Singapore, right? Outside of Singapore is a complaint. Serious? But right here
Right.
complain, I will go like, serious? Do you know we are living heaven on earth? And because they don't practice gratitude, they have taken it for granted. We have taken the safety for granted, right? So that's why, after you hear it, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm blessed. It's part of my lingo that is the gratitude that I have. Um,
Right.
and then that's the positive energy.
Thank you so much for that, Nancy, and thank you for shedding light on paradoxes or the tensions between achievement and fulfillment. Your insights reminds us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about whether the climb was worth it. And it's not just about how far we go, but how much of yourself you bring along the journey. I think that was so revealing for me and it helped me in my thought process so much. Any final thoughts, Nancy, before we close?
All right. We always need to check in, do regular check-in, or we may call it self-reflection.
Hmm.
I do that as much as possible every night, a quick one, just what did I do today? Right? Good, good, good. Improvement or correction, right? So when we do this quick check-in, then very quickly we can adjust our ways rather than years later, it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
If possible, every night, if not at least weekly. So then we know, what to do as we move forward.
So, saying that, thank you again for being with us. Let's break free from outdated definitions of success and start leading with intentions. So, please, all the listeners, stay tuned for more episodes of Moment That Inspire, your go to space for bold, unfiltered conversation on contemporary leadership.